to study Session 3, Bargaining and Negotiation. Good relations between the employer and employees are essential for the success of industry. In order to maintain good relations, it is necessary that industrial disputes are settled quickly and amicably. One of the efficient methods of resolving industrial disputes and deciding the employment conditions is collective bargaining. It is termed collective because both the employers, negotiators, and the employees act as a group rather than individuals. It is known as bargaining because the method of reaching an agreement involves proposals and counter-proposals, offers and counter-offers. There should be no outsiders involved in the process of collective bargaining. Industrial disputes essentially refer to differences or conflicts between employers and employees. The parties often refer to the result of the negotiation as a collective bargaining agreement (CBA) or as a collective employment agreement (CEA). The interests of the employees are commonly presented by representatives of a trade union to which the employees belong. The union may negotiate with a single employer who is typically representing a company's shareholders, or may negotiate with a group of businesses, depending on the country, to reach an industry-wide agreement. A collective agreement functions as a labor contract between an employer and one or more unions. History. The term collective bargaining was first used in the middle of 1891 by economic theorist Beatrice Webb. However, collective negotiations and agreements had existed since the rise of trade unions during the 18th century. The term collective bargaining itself was coined by a British labor historian named Mrs. Sidney Webb in 1891. Collective bargaining has even been recognized internationally as a basic human right, and in 2007 the Canadian Supreme Court ruled that the right to bargain collectively with an employer enhances the human dignity, liberty and autonomy of workers by giving them the opportunity to influence the establishment of workplace rules and thereby gain some control over a major aspect of their lives, namely their work. Collective bargaining is not simply an instrument for pursuing external ends. Rather, it is intrinsically valuable as an experience in self-government. Continuous bargaining is a method of collective bargaining which retains a permanent rolling negotiation between management and a permanent committee of union representatives. Once the workers' committee and management have agreed on a contract, it is then put to a vote of all workers at the workplace. If approved, the contract is usually enforced for a fixed term of years, and when that term is up, it is then renegotiated between employees and management. Sometimes there are disputes over the union contract. This particularly occurs in cases of workers fired without just cause in a union workplace. These then go to arbitration, which is similar to an informal court hearing. A neutral arbitrator then rules whether the termination or other contract breach is extant, and if it is, orders that it be corrected. Bargaining form and tactics. According to Wharton and McCarthy, the process of collective bargaining consists of 4 types of activities: distributive bargaining, integrative bargaining, attitudinal restructuring, and intra-organizational bargaining. Conjunctive and distributive bargaining. Distributive bargaining is the most common type of bargaining and involves zero-sum negotiations. In other words, one side wins and the other loses. Both parties try to maximize their respective gains. It involves haggling over the distribution of surplus. For example, Unions negotiate for maximum wages, and the management wants to yield as little as possible while getting things done through workers. In general, distributive bargaining tends to be more competitive. This type of bargaining is also known as conjunctive bargaining. Integrative bargaining. This involves negotiation of an issue on which both the parties may gain, or at least neither party loses. For example, representatives of employer and employee sides may bargain over the better training program or a better job evaluation method. This strategy focuses on developing mutually beneficial agreements based on the interests of the disputants. Issues brought up may be better job evaluation procedures, better performance appraisal methods, or training programs, and so on. Attitudinal structuring. Attitudinal structuring refers to efforts by negotiators to shape their opponents' perceptions about the nature of the issues to be negotiated. By cultivating an atmosphere of friendliness, mutual respect, trust, and cooperation, negotiators can encourage their opponents to view issues largely in integrative terms and participate in joint problem solving. When there is a backlog of bitterness between both the parties, attitudinal restructuring is required to maintain smooth and harmonious industrial relations. It develops a bargaining environment and creates trust and cooperation among the parties. Intra-organizational bargaining. It generally aims at resolving internal conflicts. It is a type of maneuvering to achieve consensus among the workers and management. Even within the union, there may be differences between different groups, as may be the case with the management. Objectives of collective bargaining. 1. To maintain cordial relations between employer and employees. 2. To protect the interests of the workers through collective action and by preventing unilateral actions from being taken by the employer. 3. To ensure the participation of trade unions in industry. 4. To avoid the need for government intervention, as collective bargaining is a voluntary collective process. 5. To promote industrial democracy. Characteristics of collective bargaining. 1. It is a group or collective action as opposed to individual action. It is initiated through the representatives of the employees. 2. It is a flexible and dynamic process wherein no party adopts a rigid attitude. 3. It is a continuous process which provides a mechanism for continuous negotiations and discussions between management and trade unions. It is a voluntary process without any third-party intervention. Both workers and management voluntarily participate in the negotiations, discuss and arrive at a solution. 4. That is why it is known as a bipartite process, where workers, representatives and management get an opportunity for clear face-to-face communication. 5. It ensures industrial democracy at the workplace. It is a self-run government in action. 6. It is a two-way process. It is a mutual give and take rather than a take-home all method of arriving at a solution to a dispute. Process of collective bargaining. 1. Preparation for negotiation. Preparation for negotiation in collective bargaining is as important as the negotiation process itself. Up to 83% of the outcomes are influenced by pre-negotiation process. Such preparation is required for both management as well as union representatives. From the management's point of view, pre-negotiation preparation is required as follows. Management should decide when and how to operate the negotiations or dialogue. Management must choose representatives to negotiate at the negotiation table. Draft for likely decisions should be prepared in advance so that the final agreement draft can be prepared as soon as the negotiation process is over. From the employee's side also, preparation is required for the following reasons. The union should collect the information related to the financial position of the company and their ability to pay the employees. The union must also be aware of the various practices followed by other companies in the same region or industry. The union must assess the attitudes and expectations of the employees over concerned issues so that the outcome of the negotiations does not face any resistance from them. 2. Identifying issues for bargaining. The second step in bargaining process is the determination of issues which will be taken up for negotiations. The different types of issues are wage-related issues, include wage or salary revision, allowance for meeting increased cost of living like financial perks, incentives, and so on. Supplementary economic benefits. These include pension plans, gratuity plans, accident compensation, health insurance plans, paid holidays, and so on. Administrative issues include seniority, grievance procedures, employee health and safety measures, job security, and job changes. 3. Negotiation. When the first two steps are completed, both parties engage in actual negotiation process at a time and place fixed for the purpose. There are two types of negotiations. Bolwarism. In this method, the management themselves take the initiative to find out through comprehensive research and surveys the needs of the employees. Based on the analysis of the findings, the company designs its own package based on the issues to be bargained. Thereafter, a change is incorporated only when new facts are presented by the employees or their unions. Continuous bargaining. This involves parties to explore particular bargaining problems in joint meetings over a long period of time, some throughout the life of each agreement. The basic logic behind this method is that all persistent issues can be addressed through continuous negotiation over a period of time. The success of negotiations depend on the skills and abilities of the negotiators. 4. Initial negotiated agreement. When two parties arrive at a mutually acceptable agreement, either in the initial stage or through overcoming negotiation breakdown, the agreement is recorded with a provision that the agreement will be formalized after the ratification by the respective organizations. 5. Ratification of agreement. Ratification of negotiated agreement is required because the representatives of both the parties may not have ultimate authority to decide various issues referred to for collective bargaining. The ratification of agreement may be done by the appropriate manager authorized for the purpose in the case of management, or trade executives in the case of the employees. Ratification is also required by the Industrial Disputes Act. It is important that the agreement must be clear and precise. Any ambiguity leads to future complications or other such problems. 6. Implementation of agreement. Signing the agreement is not the end of collective bargaining. Rather, it is the beginning of the process when the agreement is finalized and it becomes operational from the date indicated in the agreement. This agreement must be implemented according to the letter and spirit of the provisions made by the agreement agreed to by both parties. The HR manager plays a crucial role in the day-to-day administration implementation of the agreement. Importance of collective bargaining. Collective bargaining includes not only negotiations between the employers and unions but also includes the process of resolving labor management conflicts. Thus, collective bargaining is essentially a recognized way of creating a system of industrial jurisprudence. It acts as a method of introducing a civil rights in the industry, that is, the management should be the management should be conducted by rules rather than arbitrary decision making. It establishes rules which define and restrict the traditional authority exercised by management. Importance to employees. Collective bargaining develops a sense of self-respect and responsibility among the employees. It increases the strength of the workforce, thereby increasing their bargaining capacity as a group. Collective bargaining increases the morale and productivity of employees. It restricts management's freedom for arbitrary action against the employees. Moreover, unilateral actions by the employer are also discouraged. Effective collective bargaining machinery strengthens the trade union movement. The workers feel motivated as they can approach the management on various matters and bargain for higher benefits. It helps in securing a prompt and fair settlement of grievances. It provides a flexible means for the adjustment of wages and employment conditions to economic and technological changes in the industry, as a result of which the chances of conflicts are reduced. Importance to employers. It becomes easier for the management to resolve issues at the bargaining level rather than taking up complaints of individual workers. Collective bargaining tends to promote a sense of job security among employees and thereby tends to reduce the cost of labor turnover to management. Collective bargaining opens up the channel of communication between the workers and the management and increases worker participation in decision making. Collective bargaining plays a vital role in settling and preventing industrial disputes. Importance to society. Collective bargaining leads to industrial peace in the country. It results in the establishment of a harmonious industrial climate which helps the pace of a nation's efforts towards economic and social development, since the obstacles to such a development can be reduced considerably. The discrimination and exploitation of workers is constantly being checked. It provides a method or the regulation of the conditions of employment of those who are directly concerned with them. Importance of labor union. An organization whose membership consists of workers and union leaders united to protect and promote their common interests. The principal purposes of a labor union are to 1. Negotiate wages and working conditions. 2. Regulate relations between workers, its members, and the employer. 3. Take collective action to enforce the terms of collective bargaining. 4. Raise new demands on behalf of its members. And 5. Help settle their grievances. A trade union may be a company union that represents interests of only one company and may not have any connection with other unions, also called house union. A company union is often a bogus one and generally illegal. B. A general union that represents workers from several companies in the same industry, also called industrial union. C. A craft union that represents skilled workers in a particular field such as carpentry or welding. Study session summary. In this study session, we learned that collective bargaining is a process of negotiations between employers, generally represented by management, and a group of employees aimed at reaching agreements in respect of the terms and conditions of employment of employees, such as wages, hours of work, working conditions, training, health and safety, overtime, grievance procedures, and about the rights and responsibilities of trade unions. This is the end of study session 3. Thank you.